welcome once again to one of our NAUI talks. This is the international series where we try to bring ideas worldwide to help everybody, regardless of the area you're in. Today, we're going to be talking with Brad King, and the topic is how to create and use a smart form. Now, before we get into that presentation, I just want to say today we've come up with a few examples that you could use smart forms for, but there's an unlimited amount of uses. We couldn't possibly cover them all in one session. So before we get going and to save some of the questions, first of all, the questions, make sure you put them in the Q&A at the bottom or at the top, depending on how you've got your computer set up. If you put your questions in there in the Q&A section, we'll get them all answered for you. But before people start asking a whole bunch of questions and say, whoa, you need to check into the legal requirements of the region you're in. Today's are just some examples you can use. Some areas you can use that one smart form can pull in your waiver, your medical form, all kinds of stuff. Some areas you can't. You have a lawyer if you're in business, and if you don't, you should have a lawyer if you're in business. Check with your legal area, make sure you comply so that you've got the great plan that's going to work best for your business, okay? So that should save about 50 questions to people saying, well, my areas, I don't know your area. This is worldwide, okay? But smart forms will benefit your business. We were dealing with that on a marketing flyer earlier today. I know Madison, our creative genius, has got some stuff she's working on. So without further ado, I'm going to let our VP of Sales and Marketing, Angelo, carry on and introduce this great speaker of ours.
Hey, I appreciate that, Bill. And I know I think we hit the punch button there just a little bit, a couple minutes early. So kind of just do a little tap dancing around here before we bring in Brad and everything. But I just want to reiterate what you had just tapped on right there was that smart forms it all circles back to our ability to lead generate, lead convert. So many times when I'm out in a stores or I'm out on the road or I'm talking to facilities, I'll walk into a store and, the common thread is classes are not published up on a calendar. A person will be sitting at the counter saying, hey, I'm thinking about, I want to take a rescue class. And the store owner will inevitably say, we're thinking about organizing one of these classes next month or the month after. Which is kind of like, what ends up happening is this customer lead ends up going someplace else. So in my travels around, Brad, who is the owner of Kent Island Scuba in Maryland, I've had the opportunities to work with Brad over the years, and I've noticed the way that he's able to lead generate and lead convert. So when somebody calls him, whether he's on the dive boat or whether he's in his store, or whether he's at Toys R Us shopping for toys, he's able to go ahead and if a person calls him, he's able to send him a direct link immediately on the spot to get that person signed up onto a calendar, credit card information, medical, everything to capture that thing, to capture all this information to get that person into a sense of, converting that lead. So, and that's what's super important. Now, when you bring when the students come back into the store for their orientation, it's probably best to go ahead and fill out a hard copy of the medical waiver, if need be, a liability release form to maintain that on file. So with that being said, I'd like to go ahead and bring in Brad right now. And Brad, has done, like I said, a tremendous thing. One of the things he's helped me out with is like in some of the technology avenues to where we're able to go down. And I know, I'm not saying that Brad is the right way or the correct way. I'm just saying that it's a way that I have seen it done. Now, there may be other people who are doing it differently that it may work for them. But like you were saying, Bill, the whole purpose of this thing is to hopefully grab an idea or one idea to where you can plug it into your ideas and make it all work symbiotically. So with that, hey, Brad, I appreciate you coming in today to take the time out. I know you're busy down there on the Chesapeake. I know you probably canceled a boat trip today, even though it's minus 30 out there. But I appreciate you coming in and just, showing us what you got going on over at Kent Island Scuba and how you're utilizing smart forms to take your lead conversions or your lead generation into lead conversions. So what's happening?
Thanks, Angelo, Bill, Madison. Thanks for having me. Yeah, glad to talk with you guys about that. And I'll just dovetail a little bit into what Bill was saying, and a little bit of what Ange talked about. This may not be approved for your area. Definitely go through an attorney. We did. We went through our attorney, and they verified the forms. So just going to talk about it in general, and I'm going to put some slides up and just sort of walkie-talkie slides. We're just going to kind of point and click through them, but I'll talk to it, and then I'll actually show us how to go through a smart form and how to set one up with one of the providers. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. So this talk is about building smart forms and what that means to you, why we do it. And so we'll just jump right in. So considerations, why would we do it? One of the main reasons for us was document retention on the legal documents and liability forms. Here, we're required to maintain them for a minimum of 7 years. For our liability and private liability insurance here, we maintain them for no less than 10. So when you're looking at 10 years worth of numerous various countless documents, that's a big deal. And here we run multiple boats. So we run dive operations, we run scientific diving out of here. So every time someone gets on the boat, we have a liability form. Every time we go to the pool, if they're just there for a fun dive, or if they're there to actually train, we have liability forms at the pool. So you can imagine how many documents we go through. I'm sure everyone here is familiar, but we go through quite a few. The environmental concern for that, the environmentals are not necessarily just I guess, documentation, mounds of paper, but what we mean by environmentals are a lot of places we go, those forms are in humid, very humid areas, leaving them on the boat, they're wet. So we're thinking environmental in the terms of maintaining those documents and then getting them back dry to a folder and how to file them away. Another big issue for us is document revision and deployment. It seems like there's this ever evolving and changing liability form, from what pools we're using to which boats, locations, state to state. So with the smart form, what that enabled us to do was rapidly make changes to our document, get it approved by our attorney, and deploy it immediately versus going off to the printer or adjusting these documents. Very, very laborious effort. So we can make an immediate document revision and deployment. One example of that was the COVID-19 declaration or disclosure. When that came out, we were able to deploy the disclosure within 12 hours of receiving the requirement here in Maryland for COVID-19 disclosure and declaration. Student instructor verification. What we mean by that is the students can verify what liability forms, they can see the forms that they've signed, they maintain copies, but any instructor or staff member inside the organization can also verify that those liability forms have been completed. And we'll walk into that just a little bit here in a little bit. So jumping down in the bottom right corner, industry and sector use. I mean, so smart forms are not new. This was not a genius idea on our part. We just sort of jumped in, figured out how other people were doing it, and if we were able to apply it into our world. We're a little concerned about the liability forms themselves. Hey, does it meet the legal requirement? But they're deployed throughout various levels of the medical industry, academia, legal proceedings themselves, in court, even purchasing a home. If anyone's done that lately, most likely it's going to be signed off on, in most cases, online. Various providers, we use Smart Waiver. We don't own the company or get any kickback for saying so. It's just who we use, and we found the way that they deploy their dashboard was just right for what we were trying to accomplish. And what we were trying to accomplish were those considerations above. DocuSign and WaiverSign are a couple of others, and they do a really good job. But when we walk through Smart Waiver, and how we've deployed it, it'll make better sense. So some of the smart forms we've talked about, we've got some examples of our good old medical questionnaire. That was always a big one for us. As Angelo said, conversion was a big deal for us, for folks. That from that phone call to getting them signed up needed to be somewhat seamless, and the easier we made it for the customer, it seemed like the happier they were and the more leads we converted. So the medical form itself allowed us to get that out in advance, because it seems like, and particularly during COVID-19, but it seems like over time, the distance between onboarding someone and getting them in the pool needed to shorten. And with the super cool NAUI e-learning stuff that we all love, or at least we do here, we love the NAUI e-learning. It's been tremendous for our organization. That really shortens the flash to bang time between sign up and showing up for that first pool session. So we wanted to get that medical waiver out just as quick as we could and be notified if there was one of those areas where someone had to check yes. If they checked yes, that gave us just as much time as possible to let them know they needed to visit their primary medical care physician and get that waiver approved. So changes and updates to forms happen. We know that we got a brand new medical form during COVID-19. So what we've dealt with for any number of years, as long as I can remember, we've had the same medical form. COVID-19 changed that into the new form for us locally. Again, like I said before in the previous slide, the COVID-19 disclosure statement. Training workflow is a big one for us. We do various levels of training, and we like to track those students through different levels and steps of their training. We don't necessarily deploy the old folders anymore. We have an actual workflow that we follow as various instructors touch various folks in different levels of training. Seeing that happen and verifying that training took place is also another thing we use within the smart forms. General liability, we use it for our general liability. Our pool quarries here, obviously, and obviously the boat liability is something we use a lot. Learning agreements become very important for us, and statements of understanding. So all those forms we deploy ourselves, and again, they're very easy to update and modify. Once you have developed the forms, and we're going to walk through how to develop one, I'll actually step by step show you how to do this, but Smart Waiver itself is deployed in numerous ways through QR codes, links. You can have them in template emails. We use those in template emails for onboarding new folks. And then of course, down at the bottom right, I believe, I haven't checked recently, but I believe as recently as last year that I could verify, Rainbow Reef uses Smart Waiver, and they have 3 kiosks set up in their shop. These folks run numbers of people onto their boats on a daily basis, and they just have this kiosk sitting on stands, 3 or 4 of them out in the middle of the shop, and you walk in, click on it, sign up, liability forms are done, and you're verified. You can also take a picture of the individual. That's one of the cool things with the kiosk mode, is not only does it actually you're filling out the liability form, but when you go to digitally sign it, it takes a picture of you, the person filling out the form. So that adds that biometric. This is how it's deployed on our website. Down in the far left corner, if we're out on the boat, anything that's going on, if an instructor needs it in the field, you can click right on our website. We have a little link. You click on it, it opens up the liability forms. Because of COVID, we might not want to actually have someone work on our kiosks. So by putting that up, guys are able to scan the QR code, and each one of those are also hot links. So you can actually just click on the QR code or the name, and it takes you directly to the form. So it's really nice to deploy, and we do have hot links within email templates, as I said before. So they get that right away. This is the super cool part of it. the way we choose and what makes Smart Waiver, the provider itself, really nice for us is we have a dashboard. The dashboard, each of our instructors, dive masters, and staff have access to our dashboard. On the dashboard, it lists out the diver, student's name, their age, and it actually, their date of birth, but it actually gives you the age, obviously, in parentheticals. What form they're filling out and when they sign that form. That's very important to us because we have if somebody signed up for the pool, they did the form, it's been a few weeks since they've come back for maybe a subsequent pool or something happened to them, we make them after 30 days re-sign the form anyway. And because that's digital, it's very easy for them to do. They have an account. Once they sign up the first time, they can just go back and update their forms to just reconfirm that nothing's happened since their last signing. You might notice down through a few folks' names, we actually set those up ourselves. We asked our, a couple of friends to flag a couple. What the little red flag represents in the medical or the liability medical form, because we combine the two for students, is that they clicked yes in the affirmative to one of the medical conditions. So if they went through and answered each one of those questions with a no or a negative response, no issue, there's no flag. If you notice these two, for this presentation, we asked Lauren to give us one of each. So you have an example from Lauren. So Miss Lauren obviously doesn't have medical condition, but she checked yes to one of them so that we could see the flag. What that allows us to do is actually click on her name and review what the answer, the yes or the affirmative answer to the medical question was. It allows the instructor to realize that there was an issue. We automatically respond with the waiver document for her to send to her doctor. And once the doctor approves it, it goes back to a no flag. So no matter what, we have recognition here that she confirmed no, then we have the doctor's approval and signature that she was cleared to dive. Instances might be medications, something like that. And we're all familiar with that. It just really shortens the flash to bang and the amount of document retention. And for the instructor, the receiving instructor downrange, they don't necessarily have to be concerned about all those documents. We now maintain that in-house. All they have to do is look on the dashboard, and that's the veracity level that they need to be concerned with. Yes, it's done. No, it's not done. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's super, man. It's pretty organized.
This also associates and it allows us to draw through APIs an automatic form. So the actual form itself in PDF is generated. So it looks exactly like that medical waiver form or one of the NAUI liability forms, if I choose to print it and maintain a PDF record. So it auto-populates the form. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I'm saying that correctly.
There's your hard copy.
If you would like to have one, or if you need one in the event that it needs to be shared to an outside agency, example, a referral. So if they did a partial with us in basic open water and we were sending them to the Florida Keys because they wanted to dive somewhere nice, we would send that referral. So now that we've sort of gone through what smart forms are really, sort of why we do it and how you can deploy it in the various ways. One of the ways we do it, I'll jump right in and I'm going to share my screen. You guys see that okay?
Yep.
So this is that live dashboard, if you can see. So, so the way that works, this would be what would happen if I clicked on Lauren and I could view the flags, I could preview it. And then once that had been cleared, well, obviously I see that it's cleared, but I can also go in and I can shoot a preview on her and I can see all the information of the form and how that works. So that's my dashboard. It also gives me a second source for her date of birth, her sort of pertinence, if you will, her name, address, and all that sort of thing. jumping over here to what we call our list. They call it a waiver list. It's our form list for us. These are just the documents and how they work. One issue that we came up with is we were concerned that the list of questions would default to yes. So if you defaulted all the questions to yes or no, then the person would be scrolling through and not really answer the questions. So we defaulted each question to a blank answer. And I'm just going to use our COVID-19 disclosure statement, for example, as one of the ones we use. You can obviously use your logo. You can put anything you would like in that statement, and you can review it. One item is we do not allow anyone under 18 to fill out the form without an adult. So the adult themselves would have to go in and fill a form out and sign, because that's the rule in our local area. 18 is the legal age. But back to it, we can come in here and actually click edit the form. And if we need to make a modification, this is that statement. As you go through, there's a myriad of menus and ways to track, from modifying the body and the text, how you want to format, including HTML. We do quite a bit of that. If you're not familiar with HTML or coding, API draw, not a big deal. The form's pretty easy. A lot of it's copy and paste. The participant info, what we personally ask for, we want their name, date, typical stuff that we would find on a NAUI form for onboarding a student. So we need that date of birth, the date that they're signing it, those types of things. Because remember, even though it's recording it in the dashboard, we want it to actually populate the NAUI form in the end. Then, of course, the waiver, the options, where it goes, kiosk mode, emails. That's the emails version of this is where we go through to actually send the emails to the if you click yes to any subject, send note to the person filling out the questionnaire for waiver for medical to be sent to a doctor. The waiver fields themselves are the ones that we use to actually answer a lot of those questions. So, for example, if we went into our version for our actual liability, those waiver fields are the actual medical questionnaire. This looks exactly, this is a direct lift from the medical form.
Yeah.
And now you can see the questions are not pre-populated. You go in, if it's marked yes, I put a little red flag. That's the actual question, that famous one about being pregnant, we all know. It is required. You may not complete the form or move forward unless you select yes or no. We don't care about searching on it, so it doesn't index it within a flat file or database. But most importantly, it's not pre-selected. You can see that one's not, if I clicked on one of these, it would pre-populate the form for every user in the future. So we definitely don't want that. We don't want it to be pre-selected.
Hey, Brad, let me ask you a question real quick.
Go ahead, bud.
Just had one pop up from Paul O'Malley. He said, do you need to use a service like Smart Waiver, or can we just have the divers sign the waivers, etc., on an iPad and then save the signed documents to their e-file? So my response back is, I believe that you're using the smart form to maximize the total use of the program, to incorporate the dashboards and everything. Whereas, it's so it's just to utilize the dashboards, but you don't have to. I mean, let me ask you this question, Brad. What's this? Is it a service per monthly fee, or is it a one-time startup fee? Like what is that?
So to answer the first question and Mr. O'Malley's question, yes, of course you can use the PDF version. PDF, Adobe PDF now has a monthly fee. I think it's $40, $30 a month. And you can just have them sign those forms online. If you have them online, yes, absolutely. You can do all of those things. That's totally reasonable. This is a little bit more expensive. I think we pay $100 a month for this. And or don't quote me on that. It might be a little off. I'm not for sure, but the benefit to this is it houses multiple forms. They're all digital in the sense that it's just an HTML. This is an HTML forward-facing document that dumps to a repository, some form of a database, and it maintains those records. And that's the record retention policy that meets the veracity for the legal approval, to include the digitally encrypted signature.
So let me ask you this now. Does the smart viewer that you're utilizing allow you to copy and paste the text from the original form in PDF from the NAUI in order to easily create the form?
Yes, actually, that's a great question, Angelo. This is a direct copy and paste. I didn't hand type this in. I opened up the old, the one on our NAUI website, went in under resources, went into the forms, went to medical, opened that up, copied, pasted it right into this form. It is the diver medical questionnaire. I didn't format it or anything. Now, one thing that was a little laborious is I had to copy and paste each question. And not whatever it is, it's 25 questions or whatever it is now. You did have to set, but once I set them up, I don't have to touch them again. You can pay the smart waiver. I think it might be, $10 or something. They'll set the form up for you at Smart Waiver. But it really was nice to go through it on my own and sort of make sure that I understood how the process works. But yes, you can absolutely copy and paste all this right in. I didn't.
What about, let me ask you this. Smart Waiver can be integrated to a website using WordPress, can it?
WordPress, we use Wix. I think it's Weebly. They all integrate, and you can have the form itself hanging out there. You can just have a data entry section. We just choose, if the way we employ it, when you make that hot link to the QR code or whatever, it just takes you to the Smart Waiver. It opens another tab up, takes you to the Smart Waiver sign. You fill it out and click exit. The way on our kiosk now, we used to have we sort of like the way Rainbow Reef did it. So I had two iPads sitting in the sort of shop area where when we bring people in to go get on the boat, they would come in and sign their waiver forms. When we had those two kiosks, we would direct folks over that way. They would sign, and as soon as you completed the form, it would just leave a message that say, okay, go to the front desk and or meet with a staff member. We kind of did away with that because of COVID-19, touching screens all the time and stuff. So it just became a thing where we could send it along. They could fill this whole thing on their iPhone, Android phone, whatever they got, and you're off to the races. Yeah. So I hope that answered your question, Angelo.
Yep.
So again, once you move to that phase and you've copied and pasted, you got the form the way you like it, you move to colors. If you want this thing to have color, we found that white just seems to be, the normal light gray and sort of, it just seemed to work out okay. Go directly to publishing your forms and you publish your waiver. It's out there. You can add it to your website here. There's your link. Various different ways you can deploy the actual waiver itself or any list of waivers. So when you go back to our waiver list, these are all of the ones that we use to include a training completion agreement. The training completion agreement starts with that, and it's sort of iterative. It starts with a learning agreement form. And then as they move forward, as they complete those phases, remember we talked about a workflow before. Once they've completed confined water dives 1, 2, 3, and so on, they sign off each time they've completed that smart waiver, or each time they've completed that phase of their training. So it auto-generates our referral form as well. So that receiving instructor down in South Florida or Aruba gets that super cool referral form that's all signed and ready to go.
I see you can throw it on a kiosk and a website. are they shareable by a link or through a social media?
Absolutely. We have a template email. So as soon as someone goes on so typically we get a phone call asking about classes. We send them information on the class and they go online and pay. As soon as they pay, here's the cool part. They automatically get a code. Once I generate the NAUI e-learning code, they automatically get that email with the instructions on how to register, uploading a picture to their account, and completing all of the liability forms. And it's a link. It just says liability form. They click on it, and all of those things happen in sequential order to include in signing up. But yes, we can I don't know if I'm sharing this screen properly now, or can you guys see this okay?
Yes.
Yep.
So 3-order effect, third order.
The third order effects. Yes. Thank you, Ange. So the third order effects are that marketing component. This thing automatically goes to constant contact. So if you've got somebody that walked in off the street and they didn't necessarily go through e-commerce to sign up or pay for class, they paid at the counter, by them filling out the liability forms, I automatically get my constant contact MailChimp, the typical, they're automatically onboarded for those marketing email campaigns that we love to send out. We also, like I said a little bit before, I touched on this before, their name, date of birth, and address is also covered. So if I need to look them up in the NAUI system, or I need to, enroll them manually, I have that information so that I don't have to go back and be embarrassed in front and ask them their information. I can enroll them in a course using that contact information. Automatic contact generation is what we kind of this is our colloquial term, automatic contact generation. We made that term up, in-house to kind of better understand. So yes, you can dump all of these waivers also, like you were asking, social media, all of those things. And then my favorite is the API push-pull. That's one of the questions that I've been talking with Angelo a little bit about on the big side of NAUI, which is, can we automatically pull people that are registered through NAUI into the smart waiver form as an agency? So what that means is we have either at rest, a little app there that's doing data pushes and pulls to bring people in. So we're working, that's pretty cool for us. We use it on the database side. We maintain and record a database. I see you there, Leo.
I hit him up, man. I answered him back, man. But let me ask you this question. So it looks very interesting. There's a question coming in, man. I'm wondering if I could also store in a smart waiver other documents which do not require a client's signature, such as a copy of a diver's certification or a medical certificate issued by an MD. I mean, to have all the documents stored in one single place. So basically, I would think the answer to that, Brad, is yes, because it's a dashboard and it's all stored there, correct?
So that's one of the projects we're working on. So not within Smart Waiver. So down here on that, so in this little block that says third order effects, you see where it says API push pull. That's what we're trying to get to next. We're in a phase. I'm not involved with Smart Waiver as a company, but we, as a user, we're developing the API push pull. That's going to pull those documents out and put them in to your own individual repository. So when they fill out these forms, think of them as liability forms, medical waiver forms, they come in. When the doctor fills out the form for the waiver, that comes in. What I'm trying to work on is an API pull out of NAUI that it will also pull the student's record information and save that picture, their IDs, and things of that nature. We do that now manually, but as we write the code for the API, and we would publish that free, you would be able to pull down all that record information, and then do what you're talking about is maintain that in one location without having to touch things multiple times.
The most important thing that I want people to take away from this is like what Brad said earlier in the conversation, is that, you know, and I've been with Brad on the boat, or I've been with Brad on the dock or wherever it's been. And, you know, and a person calls the store or something. And a lot of times we don't have, you know, this is a bird in the hand, you know, and you've got to go, you know, God knows how many times we get these leads. So every lead that comes, you're paying big money for your phone to ring. And every time the phone rings or however it is, you got to be able to respond, capture the information, and get the check and get the money in the draw. And that's one of the things that, you know, we lead conversion or lead generation and lead conversion. You know, David Winford featured that in the Why NAUI feature talk. You know, when we had David back on the marketing domination thing, it always comes back to lead generation, lead conversion. And this, I know there's a lot of questions that are flying out right now saying, is this something that NAUI is going to provide? Is this that? The answer to the question is, NAUI has a system in place. They have NAUI Core, whether it's where you can maintain a place in the instructor's records right there. You know, there's places to maintain the student record files in an electronic place, but this is just a system. This all goes part of business development. Every single person should constantly, in addition to, yes, this is what NAUI does, but what are you doing on your business every single day to improve it? You know, how are you improving yourself? How are you improving your clients? And how are you improving your business? And this is just, the messaging here is just to provide other ways, options, to show you features that are out there on the horizon to help improve your business internally, to make you more efficient. If you're more efficient, that means more business. Would you agree with that, Bill?
Absolutely. And I was going to say, I mean, getting this set up as NAUI as a whole would be difficult because there's so many variations that you need for your own particular business. For instance, once people are in there, you could mine it for ideas like who wants it, who's done open water, who's going to do it. I could send a, hey, we have an advanced program coming up. Or if you're running a charter or you're running a dive excursion of any kind, you can look and see who's in that pool. There's all kinds of things you can do with the data once you have it. It's unlimited. This is just the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly. And I think, and Bill, it all goes back to the old adage. We've all heard it, but do we practice it? You know, spend more time working on your business, not in your business. You know, you got to, you know, you have the people who you hire, the staff, you know, design the superior system that the average individuals can run. And that's what's important to do, is to have all these key systems in place, and the superior systems will run the business.
It's something that's, I think, very individualized. You could start with a template and then grow from there. So I can't see it as one thing that we could do as an organization for everybody, but we can certainly help you give some pointers. Here's a guy who's done this, and you could take it from there if they're willing to share it, which many of them are.
Well, and then also I just want to circle back to Leo. He put a question out here. It's not a stupid question, but he asked, is
It's a good question.
Yeah, it was a good. He said, so is there a way to make your own smart waiver, and does NAUI standard meet the requirements? And he said he's sorry he was late for the meeting. And my answer back was that in Brad's smart form, this is exactly the NAUI form. All Brad did was copy and paste the NAUI form into his smart form. And then Brad has the ability, because there was a couple other questions that were like, well, what about if you want to print it out and give him a signed copy? Brad has the ability to go ahead and print a copy out and hand that person a hard copy that has the NAUI logo on it. So that's all right there. It's all integrated. The only thing that we're trying to do here is to make people more organized and more efficient, like we're saying. Jeffrey, thank you for the compliment. Appreciate you complimenting myself, Bill, and Madison. You know, we've just been, you know, trying to bring out fresh ideas to try to make it innovative for everybody to follow.
This is a hot topic, Brad. And again, we were using this for this morning. We were talking in a similar way, not the exact way, about a flyer for a particular program we're working on. And Madison was looking at how she could create it and have basically a hot button area or a hot spot area that the individual dive shop can just pop their information in and simple and easy without having to worry about formatting the whole document. So it's something that applies on many levels. This is just a rudimentary part of it. And then if we were to give you a format, you could pop things in and use it. So there's a lot of opportunities.
In line with this smart form, it's not like Brad said early in the presentation, this is not snake oil. You know, I mean, you know, high school baseball, college baseball, summer baseball, they utilize smart forms to sign people up, to get them registered on teams, because kids are registering from all over the country. All we're trying to do is just bring it into here and just move it, just go from there. So good on you guys, man.
Without further ado, I think everybody's asked all their questions, and I think we're in a pretty good spot. Go ahead and send us your ideas. We're got March one's booked. We're just about to release what's coming in April.
Bill, what's the next one we're doing? Is it on the insurance, was it?
Insurance, yeah. And we're going to talk about insurance. Why insurance? People look at insurance as a one single idea, but it's actually multi-layered, and how insurance can help your business, grow your business, what opportunities there is in it. It's not only a cost. So yeah, there's that insurance one, followed by how you can use QR codes. I knew I get it out. The QR codes in your business is stuck in there. And many other days. So send in your ideas. We promise everybody this is an hour well spent. It's more than half an hour and less than an hour all the time. So thank you very much. The recording will be there. Please watch for it on NAUI TV on Thursday, or watch for the newsletter to read it, because there's more information always in the newsletter. That's the marketing department one that goes out every 2 Thursdays. So we look forward to seeing you on the next NAUI one. And thanks, Brad, for donating your time. It's nice we can draw in so many talented NAUI guys. You're one of many, and we appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Brad.
On that note, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody.
Take care, guys. Thank you so much, guys.
Bye now.